it's a nice Sunday morning, and I've got Adam Fulford from Toronto, who runs a new modular company, Venus Instruments, and I'm really happy to have him here to talk about his first Eurorack module, the Veno Echo. Um, so, Adam, why don't you introduce yourself? How long you've been in modular? How long you've been programming things? How long you've been making music?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, thanks so much for having me on this and showcasing the module, and also for all of the great feedback that you've given me so far on it. Uh, that's been fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, I've been working on kind of DIY musical things for many years now. I'm a kind of from the guitar world with pedals was kind of where I started with it
Mm.
all. And I don't know, I went through the phase of building every distortion fuzz pedal I could. I made some studio gear and I made an amp and I started kind of designing my own bits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm relatively new to modular.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been doing it about a year and a half or so now. And The music I've been hoping to make and have been making in the past. I wasn't quite finding the modules that I wanted out there,
Mm-hmm.
or not necessarily ones I could afford anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
There's something really fun about creating the exact thing that you want.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get much better than that when it comes to DIYing is fantastic. You know, getting a kit and firing it up for the first time is a real buzz. But if you kind of come up with an idea and go, oh, this is how I want it to work, and it
Yeah.
doesn't, nothing else quite does it like this, and then realizing it, yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so the kind of music I was aiming to do is, and I say I'm still working on my modular. Like the rack is still not. I haven't done any performances using
Mm-hmm.
modular yet. But this is essentially kind of ambient, I guess, music, combining mostly sample based, and
Cool.
I prefer to use samples of acoustic instruments.
Yeah.
So I play the piano
Yeah.
as well as the guitar, and so like recording it and mangling it using granular kind of processing and that kind of thing has always been, or not always, but it's what I'm getting into now anyway. Yeah.
So let's get right into the Veno Echo or Veno Echo. I don't know how you pronounce
Vino Echo,
Veno
yeah, yeah.
Echo. Let's talk about the main features of your module and what was your design inspiration. I know you had just mentioned that it was something, you wanted to create something that exactly, with the kind of features that you want. So take us through some of the main features of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's not it by choice. I've tried to make it and not too complex an interface. Essentially, it's a pair of delay lines, pair of echoes, which have independent time controls, independent feedback. So uh, the ability to the switch in the middle there allows you to change between a synced time between the
Right.
two, um, or just like a free continuous control on each dial, and that led me to think, well, let's put tap tempo in there. Definitely from my guitar pedal kind of experience,
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I love the idea of just being able to kind of tap it a few times to get what you want out of it. Um, so yeah, so when you're in sync mode, the dial becomes a ratio of the bass tempo.
Right.
So the tap button is in the middle there at the bottom,
Yeah.
and that blinks at the bass tempo rate.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you've got it now, the two time knobs are at noon, so
Yeah.
they're both blinking at the same rate as the bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go there to the left, then it becomes faster. so it will become a multiplication of the bass tempo, and if you go to the right, it will divide it.
But also you've got a you've got the wet dry control here, the stereo width, which is really cool. You can get some really nice effects with playing with the width with the because there's a CV input for the width, and then you've got this cross feedback and filter crossfade. Now I played with it. I know what it sounds like. I don't know exactly know what it does, but it
Sure,
sounds
yeah,
really
yeah.
great. And also, I'd like you to go through also the built-in filter, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So I'll just say before we get to those features,
yeah.
yeah, like the main goal of the design was to make a delay which I could, but yeah, both channels could be completely independent
Hmm.
if desired. And also, every time you make a change to the delay time, it doesn't have any artifacts. So it doesn't do. I mean, I know it's cool. Like when you get a delay, especially an old analog delay, and you wind it back to a low tempo, and it changes pitch. It's the Doppler effect, right? The moving source versus the listener. So it's really cool, but it has limited application, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you want to do like the end of a Radiohead song or whatever, then it's perfect. But if you want to be a bit more like, I would say it allows the delay to be a bit more granular, because you can go from a really quick time to a really slow time, and you don't get any pitch shifting. It just
Hmm.
the buffer is played at a different speed. So that was one of my main goals. And the other thing was to have a huge delay range. That's the other
Hmm.
thing I needed to get out of it. I can't remember what I ended up with now. 36 seconds, I think, the max delay time. So it's basically a looper at that point, like
That's
a
great.
a
Yeah.
lot, well, more than a looper, like a sample phrase recording or
Hmm.
something. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah. Okay. So the the two the two filters. So it has a high pass filter and a low pass filter.
Hmm.
Uh, they're on the wet line only, and the filter cutoff for each of those is access where you can configure, and there's also a resonance in the background. So it's just it's a digital filter design. And it has some character built into it as well. It kind of saturates slightly as you get higher. And what's cool about it is because it's in the feedback loop. So uh, you it, you get that dubby like effect when if you have it as a high pass filter, it will filter the echo, and it'll filter it again and again and again. So you get this kind of trailing off into a high frequency kind of
Yeah.
material. Or alternatively, you can go analog delay, like an echo man, or whatever the Bucket Brigade
Hmm.
style delays, where the top end is cut out, and so it becomes murkier and darker as the echoes disappear away.
It sounds like you said, it's got a really nice character to it, and because you've got a knob where you can, yeah, you can bring in the filter or not, then you have a really great manual control of when you want that saturation, that filter feedback. So on to the cross feedback,
Yeah, so the
right?
cross feedback,
Which is this thing.
yeah, and I just realized this because I have this panel in front of me, which is a previous designer. It doesn't have that knob on it, so there's no wonder I forgot it existed. So yeah, so the cross feedback is it basically when you have a delay line, but essentially it's a buffer, it's an audio buffer, and you literally listen to it at a delayed period of time, right? So and if you've got no feedback whatsoever, it will just be one repeat. Just here's the main signal, and here's the load one, like an amount of time behind. With a feedback, you send the delay line back into the input, and that's what so it's kind of like the amount of repeats. So the cross feedback, it sends that feedback signal into the other channel. So the left will be sending it to the right, and the right will be sending it to the left. And so essentially, the more you go, if you're at noon, then it's like 50-50 going to both. And and if you're fully counterclockwise, then the two channels are completely isolated. And if you're over the other way, fully clockwise, then you've got all of the repeats from one side only happening in the other ear. The only other feature I don't think I've mentioned yet is the reverse buttons.
Yeah. Reverse buttons, and also there's the internal modulation source.
Yes, right, yes.
Yeah.
So the reverse buttons, I took a slightly different stance to reverse than maybe some other modules take. So it has a parallel reverse buffer. Okay, so the input is either coming from the dry input plugged into the input jacks, or that is being separately in parallel recorded into another buffer, which is then played backwards. So as you hit a reverse button, the input to the delay lines becomes that reverse signal. So this allows you to get some quite interesting kind of overlapping of forward and reverse, and because you can just trigger it anytime you like. And the reason to have it parallel is so that there's always signal in it, right? Because if it wasn't parallel, if you hit it, it would have nothing in there to play back. So I wanted it always to be able to just immediately come in with something reversed.
Yeah.
As you maybe could probably tell from the kind of music I mentioned I make, I was mostly interested in creating kind of asynchronous, not the sync was a secondary feature for me entirely. I like to keep it on the free mode, and then arbitrarily change when it's going forward or backwards. I'll arbitrarily change what tempo each of the sides are doing. So just to give you that kind of kind of almost random texture to the repeats.
What is the availability of the module at this moment, and what's the ETA if folks are interested?
Yeah, so it's technically released. I took a first pre-order, so that is now, like, the first pre-order is now closed. They're being built currently, so the PCBs are being fabricated. It is I'm selling it both as a fully built module and also as a DIY kit. So you can have the option of getting the bare PCBs, the PCBs with populated SMD for people who aren't happy to tackle like the really teeny parts, and also yeah, as I say, a fully built module. So yeah, it's basically at this point early on in the in this kind of endeavor. It's just as and when there's interest, right? So it's been really nice. Actually, the first set of people, it's been quite a lot of people just kind of jumped on it and said, "Oh, that looks cool. I'm going to give it a go," which was I was hoping that people would. So yeah, if you're interested, yeah, please get in touch. So well, my email address venusinstrumentsaudio@gmail.com. And I'll add you to the second pre-order, and then I can't really guarantee when it'll be available next, but yeah, they're small batches, so when
Mm-hmm.
maybe 25 people or whatever get in touch, then I'll make a new order.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, and really looking forward to, well, uh, the constant uh, tweaking of this module, and also future releases of Venus instruments. So
Thanks
thanks
very
very
much.
much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah,
Yeah.
cheers, Heidi.